Sorry, just put it in your
Well,
pockets.
welcome back. We're still live here in the studio. Things are happening, and you have to decide who you're going to vote for 23rd of June, either to stay in or to opt out. Opt out of the EU. 28 countries in EU. Millions given on a weekly basis by Great Britain to EU. A lot of people are not too happy about that. Others feel that, well, if Britain opts out of EU, there'll be issues of insecurity, immigration, and probably those that want to curtail and reduce the number of migrants coming in will have achieved their aim. And others, especially from the BME community, believe and think the other way, that indeed by being in EU, their human right is being protected, and for that reason, sentimentally, they still feel that it's better for them to be in EU. While nevertheless, others feel that wait a minute, they have sweated, especially from the African and the Commonwealth countries. They came to Britain, build the nation, support the nation, and the nation to become indeed great, and suddenly she decided, Britain, to go into EU and start allowing people from the European Union to come in, marginalizing those that have sweated and built and supported the economy of Britain to become who she is as of today. Lighton, let me go back to you, being the lead. You want to leave or stay?
I think, shut up the semantic. What I see...
And what are actually the benefit gain?
Well, the big benefit, in my view, would be for UK taking back control of key issues in its nationhood. One of the biggest things the UK gave the world is parliamentary sovereignty, which it has now lost to the EU. And if you look at the UK has actually created precedents, judicial precedents for over 700 years. Suddenly you now lose that to an amalgam of 28 countries with different judicial systems. That's too much to give up. And if the UK were to leave the EU and now get that back, the UK can reinvent itself. I feel so sad and embarrassed that the UK seemed very weak at reinventing itself. This was Great Britain that influenced in fact, the empire the sun never set in the empire. Suddenly the UK is now very timid of actually becoming what it was. There is so much to gain. It's 80% service, and service is about education. And this country has some of the best schools you can think of in the world. And this country can use that to reinvent itself. And the world is going into what we call disruptive technologies. And the UK is actually doing very well in that regard. No one could have predicted Uber 2 years ago. Uber is now very big. Amazon is also big. And the world will be very, very difficult to predict. So all the doom and gloom coming from different camps are just out here.
Right. Stronger in. In the UK presently, Britain, England, the highest probably service industry as well is technically something around the sporting industry. Most of the major football clubs in the United Kingdom, the big clubs, are owned by non-European people. The majority are owned by non-European investors. Then do you see Britain gaining more by being part of EU when she can independently get investors coming from non-EU countries, still being able to sustain herself?
As I said earlier, I would prefer economic resources to remain within Africa, because Africa is still developing. So I would want to discourage Africans from bringing their wealth here. Right. So therefore, we have to capitalize on EUs bringing their wealth here to develop this country. Now, as you rightly said, the Premiership is owned by non-British, right? And that is a good thing. They're bringing their wealth into this country, they're developing the sports, and that's a good thing. Most of the big businesses on the high street is owned by non-British. That is a good thing. Now, if we now say we're putting the barriers up, we're saying, no, we're closed for business, we don't want...
To EU.
To EU. Now, how do you think our neighbors will react to that?
Don't people go to where there is a best offer?
When you say best offer, how do you mean best offer?
Now, you're talking about Britain being able to recruit the best in the professional industry.
Yeah.
Now, if Britain is able to provide the best of the services, be it manufacturing or production, people would definitely still come to England and buy.
Yeah, but if you're putting the barrier up, saying you're only being selective about who you want to come into your country.
Because they are able to buy the product.
Yeah, but if you're stopping other people from coming, because you're part of a club, right? And in that club, as Lighton said, there's a good, there's a bad, and there's the ugly. You cannot cherry pick. It's all or nothing.
Yeah,
Is
but you are,
sorry,
well,
is
you
the
are
border
cherry
of Britain presently closed or open?
No, we're part of the EU now. We're
Is
thinking
it
of
closed
coming
or
out.
open?
It's open.
It's open.
Yes.
to who?
No. Let's
I think
not
I should
mis- wait,
clarify.
let's
I
not
think I should clarify.
misconstrue that.
I think I should clarify the point. An out vote doesn't mean that the EU suddenly shuts its door to the
border.
rest of the EU. All that changes is that the UK takes back control of some
That's not all
some
that
issues.
changes. It's not
No,
that-
seriously, Priscilla. An out vote doesn't mean that the UK won't trade with Germany or Ireland or Spain anymore.
No,
that won't happen.
But that
For
has to be
that won't happen.
negotiated.
But for every
No,
But Switzerland is
No,
trading.
Switzerland's already done that. But
Yeah, so why
Yeah.
can't we do the same?
It may take us before we arrive
I think
at
we're
that point.
conflating
It
the
will take
issues.
another 5 to 10 years to arrive at that.
Yeah,
Trade
so-
deals are so. By then, I don't want to imagine what would have happened to our economy by then. But let me just also contribute to that question that you posed to us of saying that foreigners are coming in and buying football clubs and all of that. I suspect that they're doing that because the United Kingdom provides a very good business environment for that to happen. And not only that, but you're buying into the UK economy also means that you're buying into the 500 million market which the EU offers compared to the 65 million, which is what the UK offers standing alone. So you can't really compare the two. There's a bigger market and there's a smaller market. And then on the other hand, the jobs that are created as a result of these individuals coming in from outside of the EU, it matters not where the business comes from. Let's be clear on that. As long as the business comes into the UK and that business is making money in our economy and it's employing, creating jobs and paying taxes, it's good for us. That is not an issue. But we must not forget the fact that the world is a global village. Now we buy things from the United States, we buy things from Switzerland, we buy things from Africa, and these things are sent to us. Why? We don't need to be present in any of these countries to do that. We can do it online.
But you have to be
So
part
it's a
of the
global
EU to
village.
do that.
Right.
No,
so
you're
so
not
let me
understanding-
come back to
mixing
let
the
me
issues
come back to
perspective.
Tony on the timing. Yes, Tony.
Right, I just asked a question that do we have to be part of the EU to do that? We don't have to be.
Can I just answer that question?
Yeah.
The president of the United States was there about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I recall his statement. He said, if we come out of the EU, right, we will go to the back of the queue.
Now, why can't the US open its borders to Mexico and Colombia?
Well, that's a decision for
No. So you shouldn't. No, hold on. So you shouldn't come in and dictate to us what we should do.
The point I'm making here is that the US is a very big economy. Now, if the president of that country is telling us clearly that if we come out of the EU, we're going to go to the back of the queue,
because it is to his benefits if we stay in the EU, because you only negotiate with the EU rather than negotiating with all the different countries. Now hold on. No.
One person on the list.
No, you see a lot of times someone will just come in and say whatever want to say to their own benefits. It will not benefit us if we stay in the EU, right? Because we can trade with Germany, all the other countries separately, and we can also and we can also trade with China, because China is bringing in lots and lots of money into this country.
We already trade with China.
We trade
I
with them.
hope we should be careful not to conflate the
Right.
issues.
Let me just quickly take on Kahir if Kahir is ready. Kahir is a human rights lawyer based between Dubai or the Emirates and United Kingdom. Hopefully we will be able to link to him to hear his views about this coming EU referendum. Is Kahir ready with us? Hi Kahir. Thank you for joining us. Yes, well, we're talking about this EU referendum. What is your take on it for the BAME communities in the United Kingdom? Right, I'm trying to actually listen to his audio. I think we'll continue to try. Light on, before Ms. Ronke leaves us. Your point in terms of living, being independent. But people are worried about security. In fact, that's one of the major things, security and the burden on NHS. Do you agree with that theory?
I think we should ask the bare-bone question now. UK security, how is it provided? NATO and the US. Will an outvote end those relationships? No. An outvote doesn't mean the end of NATO. And the US will never stop being UK's major partner in Europe. That's not something really threatened. And even an outvote will not stop the UK from relating with the rest of the EU. It won't stop. I think an outvote presents the UK an opportunity for it to take back its destiny in its own hand. The UK has got a lot of competitive advantage in areas more than half of the countries in the EU do not have. And it's a dilution and a pull down of UK standards. And this is an opportunity for UK to now set its own targets and actually push back on the market it doesn't like. The UK has actually pushed the envelope for long across the globe. Now, it's now so much bogged down with the EU with regulation. Let me give an example. Prior to the EU, fire extinguishers in this country, they were color-coded. Water was red, foam was cream, CO2 maybe black. Advent of the EU, everything became red. Who's going to be reading the label on those things when there's fire?
Right. Well, thanks for that, Roger, because I know you're going to leave. Probably I'm going to try just to take Kahir again to see if we can just hear his views before you leave. I hope, Kahir, that is sorted. You're welcome back as a human rights campaigner. Your take on Britain either leaving or staying.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, that's good.
Good. I think one of the things from my perspective is when you look at the benefits of membership of the EU, and one of the biggest benefits is the aspect of human rights. Now, before 2000, basically, if you wanted to take a case on human rights grounds, you couldn't do it in a UK court. You had to go to Strasbourg. So in 1997, the New Labour said they want to bring those rights home. Now, the most funny thing, in my practice is that, human rights came in, and then the impact on immigration and on asylum was huge. And suddenly, every successive government keeps legislating to roll that back to the point that, they're saying that we have to leave the EU because we want to have our own human rights. But I don't see how you can have your own human rights. There's only one human rights. And when you look at it, you think, well, hold on a minute. You don't like it because, and you're trying to say that we can make our own human rights the way we want it, not the way that Strasbourg tells us.
Right.
But you can't be a member of the EU without having human rights. And I have a very much difficulty with when countries start looking inwards. People say that that there's discrimination against Africans, Commonwealth citizens, and all that. But the highly skilled people will come in irrespective of the Europeans. When you look at the latest figures, it's 188,000 non-Europeans and 184,000 Europeans. Now, what the government is trying to do is, this myth about the reducing immigration to less than 100,000.
Yeah, per annum.
That can't work. That cannot work. But that's putting pressure on them to come up with ways to squeeze people and to make it very difficult, for people. And that's why you have people dying in the Mediterranean because everyone wants to come to Europe, and everything's been closed. All the routes for legitimate migration has been closed.
Can I ask you?
So, from my perspective, I think, there's a danger that, people think, leaving the EU will benefit the minorities. It won't. The whole country is going to look inwards.
So your take would be for Britain to opt out or remain?
Britain should stay in.
Should stay in the EU.
Okay. What builds this great city of London is migration.
Okay. Let me get one of the panelists just to quickly ask you one question. Light on who is on the side of leave?
Kahil, You're not
Yes.
suggesting that the UK subscribes to a lesser degree of human right than the EU.
Yes.
You're not suggesting that, are you?
Sorry, come again?
You're not suggesting that the UK is subscribed to a lesser degree of human rights than the EU.
No, well, we already have a human rights convention.
Indeed.
Okay, now why do you need to have a British-style human rights? What difference does it make? We already have, the precedents, the case law, and the great protection that this great institution offers.
But the attitude of the courts in any nation won't be the same regarding human rights. Human rights must actually mirror human circumstances in those countries, wouldn't they?
No, human rights is a universal, and human rights is something that basically, everyone has.
Some human rights are universal. Not all human rights are universal.
Okay.
But let's not forget that the human rights.
So let me, because he is on the Skype.
The UN.
Kadia, I want to thank you very much. Your last word for viewers watching the program as well, and for the panelists before you go.
All right. Well, I just want people to understand that leaving is a very easy solution. Then there's a whole age of where you have uncertainty, and then you have to rewrite laws, and then especially about human rights. When you think about it, what kind of human rights are we going to have? Why should it be a British-style human rights when we already have a universal human rights?
Okay.
Well, the Conservative Party wants to rewrite what they call the British Magna Carta. Well, hold on a minute. The Magna Carta was the first human rights thing, and Britain designed, a lot of the design of the convention was by British people.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kadia, for joining us. Kadia Alim, who is a human rights campaigner between here and the Middle East. Ronke, your last word before you go, and then we go on a break.
My passing shot is that, as they say, experience is a very good teacher. Just today, 2 former prime ministers, Blair and John Major, they shared a platform just to be able to pass the message that please don't even think about coming out of the EU. We had, what's his name, John Major on Sunday, on the Sunday program, also saying the same thing. We've had prime ministers all over the world. The most powerful man in the world, the US president, is also warning us against this. The chairman of the Federal Reserve is warning us against this.
What has the Nigerian government said?
I am not aware of the Nigerian government's position on this.
The most populous black nation haven't said anything.
I'm not aware. I'm not saying they haven't said anything, but I'm not aware of their position on this. But the point I'm making is all these people cannot be wrong. My view is that Britain should stay within the EU, and we should provide the desired leadership within the EU and ensure that the region is integrated to ensure that the region can work together.
Was it not the same Tony Blair? I don't want to ask a question. Was it not the same Tony Blair that took us to the war in Iraq? Was it not wrong?
It's nothing to do with EU.
Excuse me, so it can be wrong.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. You're still watching us on www.bentelevision.com, which is a live stream on your mobile phone, on your iPad, and of course watching us on channel 182 on the Sky platform and Star Time across Africa. You're watching the first ethnic TV station in Europe, Ben Television. So stay with us. We'll be back after the break. Thank you.
I am part of the people who will be voting in or out. I need to be convinced properly. I also expect European Union to do more for United Kingdom, for us to stay in. Not for United Kingdom to do more for the European Union. On both sides, it has to be balanced on whether it benefits myself as a black European. Going to Germany to look for a job and then being told, go to your country. They come to United Kingdom and they claim any kind of benefit, claiming to be European Union members. I am a European Union member. How do I get a job if I go to Prague, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and all them places? Look at me very well. They don't believe I exist in their European Union. I am lucky to be in United Kingdom, so the argument have to be balanced. And if it favors me also, I go for that one. Did I make myself clear?
Yes, yes. Do you think, like that little leaflet saying, if we stay in the European Union, right, it is a trap to destroy our freedom?
Absolutely nonsense. It's a propaganda. This must not be something you believe on. This is a propaganda of one individual. How can we go back to the dark ages? How about those people coming from the so-called third world trying to develop, but they haven't been able to do it financially, Have they gone back to the dark ages?
I think they mean the system will take us back.
What system? We have all facilities here. We have underground. We have kind of facilities here that will never ever drag us to the dark ages. As a matter of fact, we are actually going forward. Whether we are in European Union or not, United Kingdom is able to defend herself and to feed herself and to look after herself, whether we are in European Union or not. Dark ages never existed.
Well, I think that's really unfair because we as people, we contribute to the world. So no matter your race or colour or ethnic origin or religion, it shouldn't just be a white or black thing, it should just be a people thing. And I think that's totally really unfair. Do you know when stuff like this happens, it takes you back to the slavery mentality. And we're over those times. We're not living in those times anymore. We should be able to go anywhere, should be able to work anywhere we want. I don't think it should be a European thing. I think it should be a global thing. Do you know what I mean? You should be able to work anywhere in the world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
If the British opt out of the EU, they have a lot to lose, right? Because first, the EU contributes a lot of development to the community of England, and also in the business community. If they opt out of EU, then there'll be a lot of restrictions in doing business. It will affect the businesses in England, and people coming from the Eastern Bloc of Europe come to do cheap labor and all that here in England. That will be gone, right? So they are getting more than they are losing from the EU. So they don't have to opt out.
Commonwealth, yeah? Africa, India, Caribbean, right? There was no problem. You know, they were gaining wealth as they had the Commonwealth, yeah? Now they neglected us and they went to EU now, right?
We're still live here on www.bentelevision.com, Sky Channel 182, first ethnic TV station in Europe, bringing to you as it is, bridging the gap. Well, we have followed a bit of the social media as well, and we have people tweeting and talking, including the likes of the most controversial person sometime that you may classify him, write a column in Nigeria, well read, well followed. People like Dele Momodu want you guys to remain in EU. Dele Momodu, publisher. Well, I guess his point is as short as just saying remain in EU.
Well, it'd be nice to know his reasons so I could traverse him.
Perhaps he just agrees with a wider, bigger market. Perhaps he just appreciates the fact that we have more liberty and freedom. Perhaps he too buys into the
What are the gains? Are those the gains? Are those the benefit for being in EU?
The gains, as I said at the very beginning, that I wanted to be able to explain it in layman's terms.
Right.
What some
Your
of the
time,
benefits
yep.
are. You know, and the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of the times when we're speaking, you know, it's like we're talking over our heads. But one of those areas which most of us are benefiting from today is the mobile phones we're all carrying in our hands. You know, our UK companies were able to charge us at will as they wanted to. But thanks to the EU, today we're going to be paying less money when we are roaming. That's one area. I know that Lighton thinks that those things are nothing, but when you consider how much we all spend each year on our mobile phone usage and how much we're being charged for the telephone and everything, it affects each and every one of us, so it is important. The fact that we can all go on cheaper holidays around Europe, it was on with the onset of competition laws that we had companies like EasyJet and Ryanair. Don't like their service, but we had them come into operation. And today you can buy easy holidays. We also have companies in the UK that provide us with food. Lido and Audi coming in, again, as a result of competition laws. And because they came in selling cheaper foods, nowadays we're spending less money on food that we would do once upon a time.
Okay.
These are just some of the areas that impacts.
Okay,
you know,
though I wanted to take it before that, as those companies are listed, for example, all of them are coming from EU or European Union, and that is disfranchising the African companies and African organizations to be able to have that freedom likewise to bring in their benefit and their product here. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to examine the benefit of this to the greater BAME communities and people. And of course now we have Prince Dayo among the panelists on the stronger side. But Prince, before you say something, let me quickly take Asiwaju. Asiwaju, I believe, is on the line calling from Manchester. Mr. Asiwaju Asiwaju Otumba, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. What is your take?
Thank you.
Talk to me on the phone, not through the television.
I am not Otumba, I'm Asiwaju.
Okay.
Olurebi from Manchester.
Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that most of the arguments in favor of in the European Union are false.
Are false?
Are false, yes.
Okay.
To say that Britain will face a war if leaving the European Union, I don't get it at all. I don't know where they got that from. Now, let us go back to where Britain was before they joined the European Union. Life of every individual British was better. Today, as I speak to you, people are talking about globalization is very good. But what about the people, the local people, the individual people in the country? As I speak to you today, the amount of money Britain sends to European Union every month is well over 350 million. This is documented. It is not a lie. Every contributor has said this. Now, because of the huge debt that Britain has amassed because of this contribution into the European Union, majority of the citizens in Britain are bearing the brunt. Today, as I speak to you, let me come to the lower level. Mm-hmm. People who are renewing their immigration status in this country today, the fees had increased more than 50%. Today, you have to pay so much money to regularize your stay in this country. Mm-hmm. This is unfair. Right. Today, we have bedroom tax. We have things are just difficult for ordinary people. Okay. The panelists are only looking at it on the on the other side. They are not looking at the feelings of the people in this country. My take is, it is better for Britain to be out of the European Union than contribute so much money while transferring the huge debt on individual in the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So let me quickly come to our new panelists on the stronger side, Prince Dayo. You're welcome. You have heard your other co-panelists shared with us. What is your take?
Well, I'll
based on actually what our callers have said.
Yes, surely. First of all, alas, it will be utterly disastrous for the UK to leave the EU. In fact, I believe that the whole world right now is looking at the UK and actually saying and thinking that, for goodness sake, why would you want to actually leave a union rather than, leading that union? That's what many people will be actually asking all over the world today. Mm. You see, the UK is linked with so many European countries, and we have this historical link of going back so many years. If we should go back to the wars that were fought in Europe, going back to the First World War, the Second World War, even before then, the wars that were fought before the beginning of the 20th century, to do with Bismarck and all the rest of them, 1870 wars and all the rest of it. Europe was at war for well over about 80, 90 years, going back to that period. We had the First World War, we had the Second World War. No. We had the First World War, we had the Second World War. And for a situation right now where the UK is thinking of leaving the EU, it beggars belief, actually. It defies logic and description. You see, when we look at the benefits that flows from being part of the EU, what many people are not really taking into consideration are so many directives coming from the EU that benefits everybody, citizens, whether you are non-EU, whether you are African, Asian, or whatever. I mean, we talk of paternity rights, we talk of employment rights, we talk of pension rights, being protected and guided by the EU and through EU directives. I strongly believe that if we should leave, going by what the Leave campaign within the Tory party is actually, campaigning for right now, I cannot imagine the Tory party, if they're in power again, to want to protect those kind of rights.
Again.
We're talking of paternity rights, we're talking of...
So you think if something happens, it's going to go?
Honestly, it will
Okay,
go.
let me, before I come to the lead, because you guys have taken too much time on your side, so I have to compensate you on that. Let me take this caller. Hello, you're welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hello, Peter?
Yes, hello, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes, I've been listening to this program, and at times I wonder if some of your panelists actually discuss with people in the UK. The lady that is arguing that UK should stay in the EU. I'm not sure she's really on ground on what is happening in this country.
Okay.
First of all, let me start with the issue of visas. Due to the fact that there's so many people living in the UK now, if you go to renew your visa, you have to pay NHS fee, £500 average. Imagine when you have 2 or 3 children, then including yours as well, you're looking at about £2,000 just for NHS levy alone. Then the visa fees, if I'm indefinite stay, if you want to go to the PC office, is about 2,375.
Is that because Britain is a member of EU, or?
Yes, that's because of the pressure on NHS.
Right.
If the EU people are not if the EU people are not here, there won't be so much pressure on the NHS.
Right.
Therefore, go on, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're listening to you, Peter.
Okay. Secondly, I work with an accountant.
Okay.
And we handle many accounts for Nigerians. They come there. Some had cleaning contracts. Some had 4, 5, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. All those contracts are taken over by Eastern Europeans. Nigerians now struggle to get cleaning contracts in this country. I'm not talking about people, but other Nigerians also do care jobs. Now they don't even get those jobs anymore. Everything has been Eastern Europeans are taking over all these jobs from them.
So Peter, at the end of it, during time, are you?
See, let me just finish. I'm not against Britain joining the EU, staying in the EU, but the way they treat us, I mean the Eastern Europeans. I've been to Prague, I've been to Spain. As a black man, black British, you cannot get a job, ever get a job in Prague. You cannot get a job in Spain. You can't. It's impossible for you. But they come here, they work. You understand? So it's, for me, I think we black people in this country are better off staying. Are better off staying if we leave the EU.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you.
Our own personal.
Thank you, Peter. Let me come to Leave.
Right. Yes, I think I understand where it's going. And I agree with him, saying that for you to be able to get a job in France, even if you can speak French, it will be very, very difficult for you because of your color.
That's statistically proven.
Yes, it is. It is. And even in Spain, if you can speak Spanish, if you have a dark color, the darker your color is, the harder it is for you to get a job. And they come in here, like you said, and they fit into all those places, even with them being able to speak only a little bit of English. Like I said earlier on, you go to hotels, and on the front desk, you see them and you talk to them, and you can't understand, a word of what they are trying to tell you. You ask for descriptions, and it's like, excuse me, what are you saying? And you have to go on and on and on. Sometimes on the phone, you can't understand what they're saying. And some of us from the Commonwealth, English being our first language, we had been the ones that had just before. All of a sudden, these guys come in and they just kick everybody out because they prefer the white skin to be at the front desk.
So does that mean...
Listening to Dio, it just reminded me of the Chancellor yesterday saying that if we left the EU, we'll lose control of our economy, lose control of our borders. It's the same thing. They're just making emotional arguments. I can give you two specifics that will happen if the UK were to leave the EU. It will retain its sovereignty again in Parliament, and the Supreme Court in the country will have the highest decision-making body in the judiciary. If they can give me two specifics that will happen with the continued membership of the UK in the EU, and then we can traverse that. Apart from emotional arguments.
No. What I find interesting is that you dismiss everything that the Remain people, all their points is dismissed. However, one of your major campaigners today decided to defect because she could no longer support the lies. So, I think that will suggest that there are problems with perhaps some of the figures that the Leave campaigns are bouncing. But anyway, let me just correct something, because one of the callers said we said that there will be war if we leave. We didn't actually say that. Let me clarify that. We have not said that there will be any kind of war in the United Kingdom or between UK and Europe if we were to leave. So let me clarify that. That's not the case. And he too dismissed everything that the Remain people had to say, but we must leave. There was something else he said I've forgotten, I wanted to clarify. But I think it's important that we separate issues. What our last caller has just described is an increase in prejudice. And you've successfully identified the problems on the continent, and you've agreed that the UK is more tolerant. So if we're now experiencing more of these, then it means that there is an increase in prejudice, and it's not necessarily a case of because we are part of the EU, because people are going to be prejudiced against you.
But is it not because the BME or the Africans are finding it much more harder for them to get the job? There is an increase, and indeed there is an increase in number of black not getting the jobs.
That's what I'm saying. There's an increase in prejudice. Just like the lawyers told us who called us from the UAE. We're more protected. The human rights protect us more. And I think that this has increased or has continued because within our community, we're probably not using the laws available to us. We're not taking this further. We're not taking it out of the community. We're not bringing it to the forefront of the conversation before our government. And by the way, paying more in visa services and all of that is not because of the EU. That process started a long time ago. It's because
but then the increase in the fees has been within that period. But before then, let me quickly take Victor from Hertfordshire. Victor, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Now, what I want to say briefly is that in the best interest of the Commonwealth and all the black African countries, we should ask our people to vote massively to leave the EU.
Why?
Because in 1972, when they were going to join the EU, I was a unionist, I was a shop steward, and I said that time that black will suffer for it. And today, black is suffering for it because they can't get a job. If you come from Eastern Europe, you don't speak English, they will still take you because they want to see white face, right? And then, because they can't cut down immigration, that is why now, through the EU, they are now focusing on Africa, India, and so on. They are making life difficult for them to come here. I come to Britain in 1966, and I know what we were gaining that time from what is happening now. Okay. So it's in the best interest of any black to vote to leave the EU, because we will get the Commonwealth back, and Britain will start to trade with us again. We will get our glory back, and that is very, very important. Because of the EU, that is why Commonwealth becomes irrelevant.
Okay. Thank you very much, Victor, all the way from Hertfordshire. He is likewise voting out. He doesn't want to be a member of the EU. As he said, he's been here since probably 1966. He was here during the period that Britain decided to join the EU. And based on his experience, I don't know, maybe you guys are here in 1966.
I wasn't. But I just want to give a scenario. I want to give a scenario. Imagine there's a job, and they need just one person, and we have 20 people from European nations and we have 2 Africans, what's the probability of the African being taken?
Prejudice.
No,
It's like
not necessarily.
Yeah,
but let me take it. As she said prejudice, for example.
Yeah, not
if the number
necessarily.
is down.
Yeah. The number is down because
if the number is down from 20.
Hold on. The number is down. The number of Africans is down because they.
I'm not actually talking about the Africans.
Okay.
I'm trying to say now, if we're saying that there's 20 European countries in it, and now suddenly the number decreased to maybe 7, the chances of the 2 non-European will increase.
It will increase.
It will, right?
It will increase,
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Alistair, I want you to help me here. And it's one of the things I've noticed about the in argument is that they've been making emotional arguments, even at the highest level. I listened to the Chancellor yesterday. We will lose control of our economy, we will lose control of our borders if we voted out. I'm going to give you 3 specific things that will happen if the UK were to leave the EU.
You gave 2 earlier. You guys didn't.
Exactly. Right.
Let me take the. Right.
Okay, I will tell you. 1. The Supreme Court will now become the most superior court in this country once again. The Parliament will now recover its sovereignty, which is one of the most beautiful things the UK gave the rest of the world. Then thirdly, the UK can now cherry pick unskilled labor across the globe, as opposed to an open shop at the moment. Those are 3 specifics they can argue against.
Yes, you see.
Now give me 3 specific things that will happen.
Don't worry, I'll give you specifically
so,
on your
Prince Darius.
So, you see, I'm actually going to be referring to what you've been saying about the ECHR, the judges and the courts getting their powers back and all the rest. You know that would not happen, and I'll tell you why. Now,
you're a solicitor.
Yes, I'm.
Oh, you're illegal. Yes.
I'll tell you why. 1, when you actually look at the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, look, there's a big difference between EU legislation and ECHR. They are 2 different things. We keep on mixing these 2 things. They are not the same. And you see, when the likes of Gove, who is the Justice Minister, keeps on banging on about the fact that, well, he wants to scrap the ECHR. He wants to get rid of...
I want to stop you there. I want specifics.
Let me finish.
Specifics.
Let me finish.
Tell him Buffy.
Sorry.
Specifics.
Sorry.
Alistair, specifics.
Yeah, I'll be giving you the specifics. When he keeps on banging on about the fact that he's going to be scrapping the ECHR, where he knows for sure that that cannot happen. In fact, it was when they were campaigning, Gove was going on about the fact that that's what's going to be happening. In the last, before the Queen, he could not actually put forth the argument that he would want to continue he would want to continue with that purpose of scrapping the ECHR. Would you agree with me, though, that the EU legislation is so different from the ECHR?
I'm not going to go there. I'm waiting for specifics.
Then one other thing I would also want to actually mention to you is 72% of members of parliament are pro-in. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware. I haven't taken that straw poll.
Right. I'm telling you right now, that's the situation. 72% of MPs from across the board of parties, the Tory party, Labour and all the other parties.
But not their constituency.
And number 3.
So the point is, if by omission or commission, this country opts out of the EU, whether we like it or not, there will still have to be a bill put to Parliament, right, to vote, at least to actually vote on a bill to pass into law, an act of Parliament saying we are now out of the EU. How would that happen?
Based on the timing which is equated, one thing I want to quickly pick from Prince Dyer is that whatever happened, especially if they are voted to leave, this thing needs to go to the Parliament.
Oh yeah, because
now the question basically is, if then that will happen, why didn't the Parliament on their own, because they have been elected by the constituencies, by the voters, to just decide in the Parliament to vote either in or out?
No, but that's the point I'm making. You see, if that bill still needs to go to Parliament for them to come out of the EU, most of the MPs that are in, who have been campaigning for in, they could actually stop that bill. So what do? There would then be a constitutional crisis where, yes, the people have actually voted
to go.
Parliament
has refused.
72% of members of Parliament are saying
No
we're
way.
not going to be passing that bill. So where do we stand?
Let's find out. Sorry, because of the time.
Clarify what he was saying about sovereignty and EU and all of that. Let me just clarify this. The Supreme Court of England and Wales is still the Supreme Court of England and Wales. The Supreme Court has not changed in her ability to operate as a Supreme Court. So if I bring a matter within the United Kingdom here, within this jurisdiction, I can still take it as far as the Supreme Court as long as I have merit, and it will be decided upon. If our sovereignty had been eroded or taken away, as Lighton would like us to believe, then there will be no need for us to have parliamentarians anymore. Our MEPs will just have to do the job over in Brussels, and we would just have to relate with our MEPs. So I think it's very, very misleading to say something like, if we leave, then we will get back our sovereignty. If we leave, then that's when we're going to be able to, our parliament will be, our parliament, we still elect our MPs.
Okay,
So
let me
our
quickly go
parliament
to
still
Stella
operates.
because of the time. Stella, are you still with us here? Hello, Stella? Okay, your contribution, your views on this EU referendum.
Okay, is that Alistair?
Your views, ma.
My views. Am I talking to Alistair? Yes. Alistair, okay, I've changed my views. My views was to remain, but now I've decided to, I decided to opt out, you know. My views was to remain before I've changed my mind after hearing the discussion.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Stella.
Alistair, I want to thank you for Bentv.
Thank you.
I'm the wife of Emeritus late Professor Nwako, who separated the Siamese twins.
Okay. Nice to hear you, Ma. We'll be talking more on the other subject. Tony, it seems like the mess. Actually, based on the voters so far, one can definitely say almost 80% of the voters are for leave. Oh, with your team, rather.
Yes.
And then 20% with stronger in.
Do we get a trophy?
Yes, you will. On the 23rd, when the results are announced officially on the 24th.
You see, one point I think we're also missing out on is we are made to believe, the Leave campaign wants to actually make us believe that if we should leave, that would benefit Africans, Caribbeans, people from Asia and all the rest of it. That's cloud cuckoo land. It would not. If you actually look at the immigration rules and regulations as we have them today, they have restricted the Africans, the Caribbeans, the Asians coming into the UK. That will continue. And if they should leave, and they are now making out the case, deluding.
What's the benefit of the Mayor of London who is new on the throne now? Would it be of any consequences either way?
Well, I think he's
in terms of immigration coming in.
He's a different man now. He's now the establishment now.
Well, he's a new man, is he not?
And it's a stronger in.
Yes, okay. So, and the point is, look, it's cloud cuckoo land. They should tell it to the birds that, if they want to continue maintaining the fact that, if they should stop the Europeans from coming in, the Africans and the Caribbeans will be given that bigger chance to come in. It would not happen. The rules are very, very strict. They will not reduce
but
the
would they not, wouldn't they have empty spaces that need to be filled up?
Well, the empty spaces, right? Immigrants are immigrants. The way they actually regard the Europeans today, white Europeans today, as, look, you are so different from us. We do not want you here. How they feel about us is far, far bigger, and higher in terms of not liking us compared to the Europeans. Let me put it that way. And one other thing is, if they should leave, Africans and Caribbeans would not be allowed to come to this country.
Would it be hard? Would you guys make it harder for them to come in?
The only thing we haven't heard from the in camp is that the war will come to an end if the UK voted out. I've mentioned three things, specifics, and I've been begging them to mention specifics.
But I've
Okay,
already dismissed. I've dismissed what you have said. I've mentioned specific
I don't want to go into that
benefits.
specific argument about the Supreme Court. I won't go
I've
into that.
mentioned specific benefits that, you know, as individuals we are all experiencing. I've mentioned those.
Roaming charges.
I'm having shorter time, so let me.
But it affects every single one of us. I am speaking of things that affects each and every person. That is tangible to them. That is reality to them.
Your last word. Your last word.
But we're coming to an end.
Yes.
My last word is this. Let's not get confused by the issues. Prejudice is one thing, and remaining or leaving the EU is a completely separate issue. And whether or not the UK remains or leaves the EU, people being prejudiced to black people, that will continue. So I suggest that we vote to remain because we have protection. We have consumer protection, we have human rights protection, and we have so many other benefits. They are there for you.
Thank you for the stronger. You guys have said yours, Olaito, for your own team.
The UK is a very unique country with many competitive advantages and with a lot of global influences around the world. The UK leads in pop culture after America.
Tell them.
English is the language of business.
Yes.
There is no airport you go in the world you don't find people speaking English or seaport. These are cultural influences the UK throws about. And people will not stop doing business with the UK because we voted out of the UK. The market will not disappear suddenly. This is an opportunity for the UK to reinvent itself and stop being embarrassed about its strength. The UK has got strengths in many areas: science, education, culture, and many more. And for God's sake, English.
Well, thank you very much. You can still register tonight before 12 midnight in order for you to let your voice do the talking for the 23rd of June EU referendum. We'll be bringing you more highlight, more discussion, more debate from other events that have to do with the EU referendum. Nevertheless, as we have heard from the stronger end and we've heard from those who want to be out of EU, the decision is definitely yours. What you heard, you can share with other people so that they can make the right choice. And on the 23rd, people will now know if you wake up in the morning and you're still part of EU. And of course, some people feel like, well, if they could not be, even those who are married to European Union, their status may change because it means that you may not have the capacity, the opportunity to classify yourself as you stay here as a member of the EU, because that's the reason why you are here. You can move from here to any other European countries, but of course when Britain opts out, you cannot do that unless if there is an emergency giveaway to each and everybody at the time that you voted 23rd June. As we continue to round up, we want to thank Pastor Uzo for sparing us the 1 hour that we used to start the program. But this is very important because more than 4 million from BAME communities are registered voters and they voted. And of course, some time ago as well, you may have seen the white van or the big van in some part of London saying, are you illegal? If you are, get ready to go home or face arrested.
Prejudice.
That is all part of what the stronger end says is part of the prejudice. The Living has said, well, the EU member nation and their citizens here has narrowed down the benefit and the opportunity for you to get a job. Nevertheless, as we said, you still have a few hours to go so that you can register. We thank you for staying with us here on www.bentelevision.com, Sky Channel 182, and of course on Star Time in Nigeria. Have a wonderful evening. Catch you next time. Bye for now.